Number 12. So the whole chapter was basically about business costs, right? So we're thinking about how we would run our business and then splitting up those costs between sections of this, right? So that was way back in the first section was manufacturing costs. So the biggest thing is you have to know the difference between the vocabulary, right? Total manufacturing costs versus overhead costs, right? So in number 12, the three departments of some auto repair use this floor space. The body division uses 3,000, repair and services use 2,000, and painting uses 1,000. The annual insurance cost of the building is $2,800. It's distributed on the basis of the floor space. So how much does each department have to pay? What do I gotta
If
do?
I don't add up, divide them by their section, and add the money, divided by the square footage, 6,000, right?
No.
Is that how this one went?
Take 3,000 plus 2,000 plus 1,000.
Yeah.
So that's 6,000, right?
Yeah.
Then I would go back and take my 3,000 divided by the 6,000.
Oh, yeah, 3,000.
And then take that decimal times the money. Everybody good with that? Again, if you need to see anything up on the board, let me know. Okay with that? All right, 13 was the break-even point one then. Remember, there's two different ways of doing it, either by the amount of things that you're gonna make or by cost. Okay, so Balin Operating Corporation plans to produce cowlings that will be sold at $20 per unit. Manufacturing any cowlings will cost an estimated $24,000 in fixed cost. The variable costs of producing each cowling are estimated to be $10. How many cowlings must they sell to break even, and then what sales must Balin earn on the cowlings? So what do we gotta do?
Take 24,000 divided by your 20 minus 10, which is 10.
Right. So you're gonna take your, how much it's gonna be per unit minus your costs, right?
Yes.
Okay, your variable costs, and then take that and divide. So 24,000 divided by 10 obviously is 2,400. That's my answer. And then what do I do for 2,400?
Times 1.
Times the 20, right? Because that's how much we're gonna sell it per unit. So then we multiply those and we'd have to get a profit, or anything over $48,000 is profit then.
Yeah. 48,000.
48,000.
Oh, yeah.
That's my break even point. So anything over that, then we're starting to make money. Okay, depreciation costs, 15 and 16 is gonna use the couple of different ways that we could do it. So we had just to do a regular problem, then it's a fixed rate, right? That is probably number 14. Okay, so we would take 164,000 times the 12%. Remember, anytime that they say that book value, that's like my running total. So then you always got to calculate that. So 14 would have been pretty, I guess, what you would kind of expect, right? That's how you kind of think about depreciation and as a normal thing. 15 was a new way of doing it, which was the sum of years digits.
You do 15 on the board.
Yep. So the original cost of a stamping press was $152,000. The factory plans to use it for 5 years and then trade it in for $44,000. Find the book value of the press at the end of the first year using the sum of the digits. So again, the first thing that I have to do, and this one's kind of easy just because they say only 1 year, but we'll do it for 2 years so you can see kind of the whole thing. So this is 15, right? So it was how much?
52,600.
And we're gonna trade it in for,
44,600.
okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is this, right? We're gonna see how much it's actually going to go through. So I'm gonna subtract those two numbers. And we're gonna use 108,000 basically in the calculation, right? So then you do your sum of years, and how you figure that out, whatever the number of years you write them all out. So this one said 5, so you write all those out. And then you add all those up. So 1 plus 2, 3, 6, 10, we'd get 15. 15 is my what? My
Denominator.
denominator.
Yeah.
And then I always start where?
The biggest.
Always the biggest, right? Because again, we're gonna try to get our most amount of depreciation right away. So I'm gonna take this percentage times this number that we got when we took the original cost minus our trade-in value. So we're gonna take 108,000
36.
times 5 over 15, and that's how much?
36,000.
36,000. So, 36,000 is what?
What you lost the first year.
It's the amount of depreciation. So if they ask what is the amount of depreciation, that's what it is, right? But they ask us for the what?
The book value.
The book value. So now this is where you gotta make that adjustment. You gotta go back to the original cost and then do your depreciation for that first year. And that's where some people forget, right? So we do our subtraction, we get what? 116,600.
You.
So that's my answer if they ask you for after the first year. If they ask you to do it for the second year, this is where it's, you gotta remember, I go back to the 108,000, okay? But then you switch this, right?
You.
So in the first one, why does the amount change is because your amount gets smaller, right? When you use that 12% over and over and over again. This one's just using that. So somebody punch that in quick. 28,000.
28,800.
800, okay? So again, if they would say then, what is the book value after? Now I'm coming back here again and doing it in my running total, okay? So my running total gets me 10 minus 2 is 8. So after 2 years, that's what it would be. Now, I don't know if it happens to this, but if they say what's the total depreciation after 2 years, then I would come back and I would add these two things. So that could be another thing, I don't remember. But if they would say what's the total depreciation, then you go over and make a running total over there. So the biggest thing is that you have to go back and use that number that you did when you did your subtraction between the original and the traded value. Okay? Make sense? Alright.
Do you know how far we're gonna have to go on with this?
I would say maybe only 2. Yeah, I wouldn't say you have to do 2. And then 16, it talks about the Mackers, so that's where you have to go back and use the chart. Remember the Mackers chart?
You.
I don't know exactly. Looks like here it is. So if you want to look at that one, you can go back to page 393. And so again, this one says a business van costs $21,000. So cars, trucks, office equipment, and then we would say for the first year. So basically, I'm going to come back to the first year. I'm going to take 20% of whatever the amount was, 21,000, right? Okay. If they ask you to do multiple years in this one, always go back to the original price, which is 21,000. So even if they ask you to do the second year, then you're going to go back and use 32%, but you're going to go back and use 21,000.
You don't subtract them.
Well, it depends on,
Unless they ask.
if they ask you what the book value is, then you would still go through that process and make that running total. But you always use, so the 21,000 is kind of like the 108,000 in this problem. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody good with that? What did I say, 393?
Yeah.
All right, good with the Mackers?
Good Mackers.
9.4 shipping costs, we just went over this, right? A couple days ago. So on page 397, if you want to look on the shipping cost one, a company wants to ship a package that weighs 10 pounds to zone 5 using National Shipping Company's 2-day service, ensuring the insuring the package will cost $6.75 more. What is the total cost of the ship? Or what is it to ship the package? Okay, so we're gonna go back to our chart. We found 10 pounds. What's the most important part of this?
Round up.
Round up. Even if it's only 10.1, you gotta then go to the next whole pound. So that would be, if it's 10.1, you would go up to 11 pounds. Okay? On the quiz, I noticed, I think some of you just wrote that number from the chart. You gotta take that number from the chart and then multiply it by your poundage. So in this case, you're taking that dollar amount from the chart and multiplying it by 10, and then what?
Adding 675.
Right, and the 675 I don't have to do to the pounds, it's just a total.
Insurance.
Okay? Everybody good with that? Okay? 19, basically the same thing, but now we're gonna do a little counterweights. So Velcro and Madison ships 42,350 pounds of lumber by freight to True Time in Pine Valley, FOB Pine Valley. So here's the first thing. When they say FOB something, who pays for it?
Other person.
Another
The other one, right? So in this case, who's gonna pay?
Velcro.
Velcro of Madison's gonna pay, right? So now, what do we do in this one? If it's talking about, the next sentence says the freight company charges $21.19 a CWT. Again, remember that's that counterweight. So it's based off of 100. So the first thing I gotta do is what? 42,350 divided by 100. And then again, make sure what? Then you round up, even in that one, right? So this one would have been 423.5. You go up to 424. And then go back and use your number that they give you. So 424 pounds times 21.19 gets you, you know, shipping of $9,000.
It's like work.
Pocket change to you guys. Alright? So again, remember when we're doing it with freight, it might be by train or by ship or something like that, right? Okay with that? But again, make sure you round up. 21 is the office cost one. And office was with 2,500 square feet, rents for $48,000 a year. Light, heat, insurance, and maintenance are estimated to cost $4,500 a year. What is the total annual cost of this office space per square foot?
You add the maintenance.
I gotta add them together, right? 48,000 plus the 4,500. I add them together and then divide by what?
Square.
The 2,500, which is the square footage. So I'm gonna have $21, right? Then it says, how much does this workstation cost per year? So now, $21 is 21 square foot, basically, or per foot. And so their workstations are how much? 30, so I take 30 times 21 to get the second answer. That makes sense to everybody?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, $21 was the amount, and then 630 was the
When
second.
you get the $21,
I'm gonna take the rent amount, which was 48,000, and then all of my other costs, they thought it would be 45. I add those two together, and then I divide by the total amount of square footage. So divided by the 2,500, and that gets you your 21.
and then you times it by 30.
Then you times that by 30. Yep. Okay. 23. I know caused a couple people some problems on the test or quiz. A clerk can sort and file 1,125 invoices per day. If the clerk earns $10.20 per hour and works for 7.5 hours a day, how much does it cost to file each invoice to the nearest tenth of a cent? So again, when you're doing this, when it says how much does it cost to file, you're basically doing the cost per filing, right? So that's how you can kind of tell what you're going to do. So first off, how do you find your total amount that you're going to have?
1020 times 7.5 to get.
Times 7.5 gets me my grand total of how much I'm going to do. Now, what does it say? 1 day?
Well, per day, yeah.
Okay, so per day, so we got our money that we're gonna make per day, and then I take that and divide it by the number of lines that I can do. So 7650 divided by
0.68. Or
Say it.
0.068.
0.068, yes. So that's where you gotta read the directions and make sure you round. So it says nearest tenth of a cent. So you basically are going 3 decimal places. Alright, okay with that one? What's that?
That's a lot. If you can do 150 an hour.
Yeah. The last one is 25. Rick spent 2.5 days at a business seminar. He was reimbursed for traveling the 250 miles to and from the seminar by personal car at 0.515 miles. He was also paid $135 per diem. What was his total reimbursement? What's per diem mean again? Per day. And so, again, don't get confused when it says miles to and from, that's actually a grand total. Okay, so we're gonna take the grand total times 0.515 and then 135 times 2.5 and add all that together. $466.25. Okay?
Too easy.
Too easy?
Too easy.
Perfect. I'll remember that on Monday.